Sleigh bells ring, are you listening? In the lane, the snow is glistening. A beautiful sight, we're happy tonight, walking in a winter wonderland.
Bonjour, and welcome back to the Great Ojibwe Baking Show. I'm your host, Marissa Carr. Today is day 8 of the 12 days of Marismas cookies. And man, it's starting to get a little chilly in Chicago right now. But not the coldest I've ever been. The coldest I've ever been was probably the time that I fell through the ice into the frozen Mississippi River. I was working with an after-school youth program, and this elder invited the girls in our program to come to a water ceremony over the weekend. So my friend Emmy and I were like, yeah, let's take them. So we drove this van full of little girls to the Mississippi River for the ceremony, and they all were holding their tobacco. And the elder lady running the ceremony said that they should all put their tobacco in the river. And it was, the river was frozen, and it was a little open out towards the middle, but I was looking at it and I was like, man, that ice is not stable. We can't, let all these little girls walk out onto that ice. So I told them, well, you guys, I'm worried about that ice, so why don't you guys all say your prayer and then give me your tobacco and I'll go put it in the open water, because I don't want you guys walking out on that. So I did, and sure enough, I fell through the fucking ice into the frozen river. It was really cold. Fortunately, the water wasn't that deep. It was only about up to my hip, so I wasn't in danger. It was just really fucking cold, and I thought, this must be what it feels like to be a penguin. Anyway, I don't even know how I got out of the river, but somehow I did. And I went and dried off in the van, and then we took the girls to IHOP and got pancakes, and it ended up being a really nice day. Anyway, that was a good day. Today is going to be a good day too, because we're making peanut butter blossoms. To start out with, we're going to take 1 3/4 cups of flour, and we're going to sift it in a bowl with a teaspoon of baking soda and a teaspoon of salt. If you have a sifter, you can use that, or I'm just going to kind of sift it together with my wire whisk so everything is blended and we break up any clumps. The flour gets nice and a little bit aerated, and I'm going to set that aside for now. Now in the bowl of my stand mixer, I have 1 stick of butter, that's a 1/2 cup, and I also have a 1/2 cup of peanut butter that I'm going to throw in here, and I'm going to pop it on my mixer until it's mixed together and it's nice and fluffy and creamy. We've got our butter and our peanut butter all mixed together, so now I'm going to add a 1/2 cup of granulated white sugar and a 1/2 cup of packed brown sugar, and break that up a little bit. You don't really need to do that. It'll happen when it mixes up, but why not? I'm going to throw this back on the mixer and cream all this together. So this is all creamed together. I'm going to add an egg. At this point, you could also add a teaspoon of vanilla extract. I'm out of vanilla, but I wasn't going to let that stop me from making these cookies. So certainly you can do it without. Also, vanilla is really expensive right now. So if you want to use it, you can. You don't need to, but you do need the egg. So add that in and throw it back on the mixer. Great. So our wet mixture is nice and fluffy and beautiful. I'm going to take my dry mixture that I set aside earlier, the flour and salt and baking soda, and tip it in here. Throw it back on the mixer. Let it all come together. Great. You can see that this has come together into a nice dough. So I'm going to form it into balls that are about 1 inch in diameter. I'm going to take my ball and I'm going to roll it in some granulated sugar. And this step is optional, but I do think it adds a nice touch to your finished cookie. Pop it on the baking sheet, and I've been preheating my oven to 375, so I'm going to put these in for about 8 minutes. Our cookies are out of the oven. They were in for 8 minutes at 375. They're starting to just get brown on top, which is exactly what we want. And now we're going to take a Hershey's Kiss and just pop it in the center and push it down. There are some recipes for this cookie where they have you put the Hershey's Kiss in and then put it back in the oven. I personally do not like to do it that way. I think that baking the Hershey's Kiss kind of compromises the texture of the chocolate. And if you do this right when they get out of the oven, the cookie itself is hot enough that it'll melt the bottom of the chocolate enough to keep it on the cookie. Okay, our cookies have cooled. They're still a little warm because our chocolate is a little soft, which is going to be delicious. I think it's the best way to eat these cookies, warm and soft out of the oven. But let's see how they are. It's delicious. I'm sure some of you guys have had these cookies before. Chocolate and peanut butter is such a classic combination. My brother's gonna love it because he doesn't eat foods that are orange, I guess. And keep in mind, he's in his mid-30s, so he's not like my child brother. But he does love things that are chocolate peanut butter flavored. So I know these are gonna be a big hit with him. But they're delicious, so I hope they're a big hit with you guys too. Enjoy making these, enjoy eating them, and I'll see you tomorrow on the Great Ojibwe Baking Show for day 9 of the 12 days of Marismas cookies. Giggle up a minute.
It's coming on Christmas, they're cutting down trees, they're putting up reindeer and singing songs of joy and peace. And I wish I had a river I could skate away on. I wish I had a river so long I would teach my feet to